So to wrap up this first video series, I'm going to tell you a story. And it really, at first glance, has nothing to do with leadership. But stick with me, we'll get there. This story goes back about 13 years at this point, and Josie and I were about 10 years into our marriage. And we kind of hit a brick wall. I don't know, there's not a pretty way to say it. It was a very difficult time, and neither one of us could kind of see our way out. There was no light at the end of the tunnel. And I know there's like a lot of questions around, well, what does that look like? It basically boiled down to, I was trying to grow a business and I was paying so much attention to the business, I was neglecting my family, and it was causing all kinds of issues in our marriage. And when we hit that brick wall, I didn't know, there was a day in particular that it was a Friday. I just dropped the kids off at school, and I called a friend of mine and I said, my marriage is failing. I don't know what to do. I'm a guy who makes his living helping people solve problems, and I can't solve this problem. And so he said, well, let's get together for lunch. And he listened to my story and he encouraged me. And then he said, there's another guy I want you to talk to. And I called a guy named Don, and Don said, been in your shoes, been through your situation, and if you want to work on your marriage, we've got a spot for you tomorrow morning. And so Josie and I kind of dropped everything, and we spent the next day learning how to communicate with each other with a bunch of other couples. And there was one exercise in particular that really stood out from that day. The entire morning, they've been teaching us different things, and I would be listening to something and I'd say, oh, that was really good. I hope she got that. Or, oh man, that would really fix that problem that she has. And when they released us for lunch, they said, you have lunch on your own. We want you to go find a quiet place and do this exercise and read it to your spouse. And the exercise was a blank page, and at the top of it said, what it's like to be married to me. And there's just a whole bunch of blank lines. And you're supposed to fill this out, like, what is it like to be married to me? And so I sat down and I did it. And as I was reading it to Josie, the weight of the stuff that I had to work on just kind of came pressing down on me. And I realized in that moment that I had a lot of work to do on me. And my attitude in the afternoon changed completely. And I wasn't worried about what she was hearing or not hearing. I was only worried about changing the things that I could change to get better and to become a better husband. On our way home, we were talking about it, and we were hopeful for the first time in a very long time. And we said to each other, we are going to make our marriage our hobby. If there's something that we are going to spend time and money on, then it's going to be investing in our marriage. And so we've been doing that now for the last 13 years, and we've been married 23 years this year. What I realized through that experience is that my marriage didn't start changing until I started changing. And that's been a lesson that has stayed with me ever since. When I'm willing to own the things that I can change, the situations around me start changing. And that was huge. The second thing that I learned is that there were things that I had to humble myself in order to gain access to. When I reached out to Doug, that first person that I called, and I humbled myself, and it's called humble for a reason. It's kind of humiliating to admit that you're failing in an area that you're supposed to be succeeding in. But that humility, and later the humility with Don, and the humility with a whole bunch of other people who came alongside us to help, that opened up worlds of opportunity to learn things that were closed to me before. The third thing that happened is that same humility opened up opportunities for me to help other people. And I found myself, in some cases, being the teacher of the same concepts that I had learned that had helped Josie and I so much. And it's really true that the teacher learns a lot more than the students. And so my level of understanding became even greater because I was willing to humble myself before an even wider audience of people to say, yeah, I've struggled with that, I've dealt with that, I'm still dealing with that, and if you're interested, I'll tell you some of the things that I'm working on to overcome it. And then finally, fourth and most important probably, was that decision to make our marriage our hobby, because in doing that, we changed our identity. We started to identify ourselves as people who take their marriage seriously, are committed to it, are going to invest in it, and want it to get better and better and better. And that change in identity was something that allowed us to continue to work on ourselves because that's how we saw ourselves. We just became those kinds of people. We became that kind of husband. We became that kind of wife who consistently worked on the marriage. So my charge to you, Axiom's charge to you as a leader, is to begin working on yourself regardless of the situation around you and how messed up it is or how many other people are at fault or where the blame lies. Focus on the things that you can control. And number two, if you'll humble yourself, you'll recognize lots of new opportunities to learn that were previously inaccessible to you. Also, if you humble yourself, you'll find that many, many people will come to you and say, can you help me? You seem to have gotten past a point that I'm struggling with. And finally, if you will put on your identity as a leader, if you'll begin to identify yourself internally in your own head to yourself, when you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, I'm a leader. I act differently because I'm a leader. I learn differently because I'm a leader. I respond differently because I'm a leader. It'll start to change everything around you. And you'll find that your leadership growth is tremendous as a result of putting on that identity. That's our hope for you.